Hello and welcome along to another episode of this FM22 story Rebuilding Helsingborg with me, Daniel. We're back today for part 16 and we are back for a final game of the season against rivals Malmo. And at the start of the year, we wouldn't have thought this wouldn't be important for the reason we've got, because we have already wrapped up the title as we did in the last episode, and Malmo have had a shocking year. As their manager got sacked halfway through it, they struggled until they got to their European campaign, and even then, that's hindered them in domestic form. So it's a chance for us to finish on a massive high, but we've also got other decisions to make. Those of you that watched the last episode will know that we have applied for another job, and it's probably the one that would tempt us away from Helsingborg. But even then, I'm recording this in advance, so I don't know what your comments are to that episode, on whether or not we will be continuing this save into a third year. If you're looking forward to us rounding off this season with a big game against Malmo and the end of year review, then please do put a thumbs up on it and subscribe down below for daily FM22 content. We had drama galore in the Hemel episode yesterday. You can find that feature length special up in the eye above. And you can support the show as a channel member by clicking the join button down below. But we've got big decisions to make after this episode. Of course, our job here was to rebuild Helsingborg, which we've done without a shadow of a doubt. Now, there is the temptation to turn this into a builder nation, because unusually for a builder nation type save, we were the only club to fail to get to European group stage football. So the AI is fulfilling that part of the bargain, and we're just fulfilling the domestic part. So we could turn our attention towards, can we succeed in Europe, and maybe head towards winning a Europa Conference with Helsingborg. The alternatives are, the job vacancy is open at our beloved club. It's a club we've always struggled at on the channel. I struggle not to make emotional decisions. Well, why would we not perhaps want to take that up? So I've applied for that. That is another option, which you guys will have been giving me your opinion of down in the comments below. The third and final option is that we move on to another new save completely, because the rebuild is technically complete. It's just whether we want to advance it into a further story now. We could even continue this as a Builder Nation on Twitch, so we've got a number of options. But for today, I want to finish the season on a high. I want to reflect on what, despite that heartbreak and drama in Europe, has been a really special season. Winning the league and cup with your first attempt back in the top tier, albeit without the strongest 11, but certainly with a very strong squad. We have to really reflect on that positively, and we have to give credit to Andreas Grankvist, our director of football too. So we're going to do all of that before we finish, but for now, let me show you the one game we played off camera, and we did rotate a little bit, which led to a 1-1 draw rather than a victory. Lucas Lingman back in, got himself a goal. Unfortunately though, the rest of the midfield didn't play, so Valencia came in. Off the bench, we had the likes of Garnas and Caid. Daniel Rios played yet again, though Van den Herk is since going to displace him. And it's left us in a pretty good unbeaten run, comfortably at the top of the league. And we've mentioned our disappointment at other teams' performances. No one's going to get more than 57 points behind us this year. Last year, the top 3 all got more than that. So there have been some bitter disappointments. I don't know what the European money will do for the next transfer window. And maybe, even if we don't carry on the save, we might reflect on that, just to see whether the other clubs invest that European money in either infrastructure or if they do so in playing staff. But for now, it's all about facing Malmo. The job offer is in at Luton Town. We'll keep our eyes peeled on that. So regardless, there probably will be one more episode, either to take a job offer, either to look at a transfer window, or maybe even to carry on as normal. But let me know in the comments what your opinion is between the three if you didn't do so last episode. And we'll decide as we get towards the end of the season. But for now, it's all about the final game and the season review for this brilliant squad. We face Malmo, who have been the ultimate disappointments this year, closely followed by AIK, it has to be said. But let's get through the tactical meeting, pick our team, pick our squad for today's game. As finally, when we've got the day to come and lift the trophy in the derby, we get almost a full house at our stadium. We've waited long enough to get over 10,000. 15,800 expected. It's going to be rocking and they're going to see us lift the title. Brilliant stuff. Let's have a look at who we can put in the squad. I think I'm happy with what I've gone for. From the last game, Hendrickson comes back in after a knock. Van den Herk comes back in to strengthen us. And at left back, I've gone for Terzic over Hadjin, who's been poor in recent weeks. So just a little bit of rotation, giving young stars a chance. I could even bring in Caid for Ali, who's had a few really poor games, but this is still a big derby and I want to win. I want to go out on a high if this is to be our last game in charge. So let's go and get through to the big occasion today. It's Jolson between the sticks. One of the most improved players off the pitch. He's been absolutely brilliant, the young keeper. Granath and Terzic, the fullbacks, with Weiberg alongside Vidal, now a superstar and on the brink of the international team as centre-half. We've got Almajed, Hendrickson and Lingman the midfield three, Lerpa, Ali and Vandenherk back in the front three. He's had a really good season after a pretty average one last year. At 29 is the talisman of this team. I'm not sure if he's close enough to top scorer for the division. He's not, unfortunately. Those games I left him out for Rios, probably costly, but Rios became the hero, scored the winning goals to get us the title. Let's submit the team, get into the big game. It's a derby, it's a meaningful occasion, but it's going to be painful for our rivals Malmo because they're going to have to watch us lift the title and have a promotion party in front of them. Well, 5 changes for Malmo, and probably with good reason, because don't forget, they're in European group stage football, and I am going to reflect on that after, because those of you that followed our Bangor City save, the Builder Nation in FM21, you'll know that we had other clubs that were able to compete a little bit domestically in the initial stages, but couldn't offer anything in Europe. Here it's a really weird mix, and I'm going to show you after how the other sides are getting on, because it is one of the things that's tempting me to carry on and turn this into a big Builder Nation. If you look at some of the names that Malmo have brought in, I mean, they've got Cenk Tosun up front, who, yes, maybe has become a bit of a laughingstock at Everton for not scoring a huge amount of goals and having a massive price tag, but at Swedish top tier level, he's a fabulous player. And he's not that old. If we go and get him up here, alongside Ola Toivonen as well, Cenk Tosun, he's on 12 grand a week, he's 31 years of age, he's still a fabulous striker, he's lost a little bit of pace, but he was never the quickest. He's a fantastic player, scored 3 goals in the Europa Conference, 2 in the Swedish League. I just feel that there is a sign that this league is going to really improve. They've brought in a past his peak Martin Olsson as well, and if they can bring in some young ones to go with it, potentially Swedish football is on a really fast incline. But let's go and get through into the first half. We're going to tell the lads to impress us. We're going to get through the tunnel interview. And hopefully we can put in a fitting performance for this massive crowd that has turned out today. And hopefully, if we're still here, some of them will turn up for the first game of next season too. Helsingborg v Malmo, the derby is here. Cenk Tosun has got to be kept quiet. But Helsingborg going to lift the title. Let's go and have some fun. We're back with just a few minutes on the clock as we've got the ball in our own half, but they were pressing us fairly high there momentarily. Weiberg gets it wide to Terzic, and he can play inside to Almajed. Looks like we're able to play through them quite easily here, but it's nice to see a side facing us with attacking intent. Hasn't worked because we almost score there. Lerpa, completely unmarked right side of the box, gets it across the front post. Vandenherk shot blocked with a last-ditch challenge. Lingman puts the corner in. Vidal loses out in the air. Moisander, he rises to win the header. He's another experienced name, isn't he? Is he the one from Ajax I'm remembering? We'll have to go and have a look. As Granath plays to Kasper Vidal. Back inside to Almajed. No players behind him as they're all still up from the set piece. So Vidal, when he gets it next, goes all the way back to Jolson. He switches left to Terzic. We've been offered a lot of space out wide here. Tahar Ali beats his man to it, nips in front, cuts inside to Vandenherk, plays it to Lerpa. That is an absolutely fabulous goal. We've got a real good team cohesion here. We've got an excellent dressing room. Lots of experienced players, very few throwing their toys out the pram. And it's not like my average squad, to be fair. That's where you can credit Grangfist, but it's really achieving results. Let me just have a quick look at Moisander. 37, former Ajax man. It is who I thought it was. Kept his attributes pretty well, particularly physically. As we've got a throw-in on the left-hand side, as they're still yet to muster a shot, we're piling forward again. Lingman gives the ball to Terzic, and I think it reflects the different priorities here, but Malmo should be more consistent with the squad they've got. As it's a long ball forward, and they have had a week off before this game. It's not like they've been playing straight through. We've got the Winter World Cup round the corner, which might make their job even harder. As Larsson at the back to Moisander. Lots of teams playing a back three in this league, which doesn't seem to play against our tactic very well, as Ali finds Lingman into Vandenherk. Goes right to Lerpa. Cuts inside to Ali. He's on the left side of the box. Got 3 or 4 in the middle. Lingman's one of them. And the keeper, he's not covered himself in glory there, darling. He should have saved it. Gets down to his right. Just sort of squirms under a limp wrist. And it's 2-0 with 20 on the clock. Lingman had a fabulous season, but that one shouldn't have gone in. As we're back with a free kick on the right hand side. Good position to put one in. Moisander getting a yellow card as well. The man we looked at earlier. Who's going to put this one in? It's Lingman to the back post to Almajed off the bar. And then Vandenherk is there to head in. I think he's onside because they had a man on each post. Vandenherk gets his 20th goal in all competitions. 2 off top spot in the league for the year. Could he yet go and do it? Because Malmo have collapsed. And when I show you after, you won't believe it. Because they're doing really well in Europe. They're fighting hard. They've got quality players. But they're all over the shop here. Vidal's headed in for 4. Is this just a full capacity crowd? This one doesn't stand. It's been ruled out for offside, but it's bonkers how poor some of these sides are in the league. Half time is approaching, but we've still got more time to attack. Lingman into Vidal, who heads just over. Is it just the set piece work? Is it just the style of play? It can't be. It can't be that much of a difference. Tossen is better than any player we've got. Their squad on paper will be expected to do better than ours. It's a similar 11. It's a similar squad depth. I don't really understand it. As we're back on the right-hand side with Granat. 5 minutes gone in the second half. Works his way down the wing completely unopposed. Finds Willem Lerper, who cuts back to Granat again. And Lerper. Really good combination down the right there as it's inside to Hendrickson, who joins in. Got 2 inside of him. One of them's Lingman. 30 yards out. Finds Tahar Ali. Goes from distance. Just rattles the woodwork. Little glimpse of it on the way over. It's 9 shots on target now. Nearly 3 expected goals. I mean, we've delivered a fabulous display in a big game. But this is the thing that frustrates me. You've got a Swedish club that are doing better than us in Europe. Beating good sides. They've got good players. They should be competing with us. And they're just so poor. I mean, they lost at home to Halmstads last week, who with respect are not very good. As Tahar Ali gets the ball back to Terzic. Time to run forward. And again, they're not pressing our fullbacks, but you could argue they didn't need to there. Terzic passes it back. Pena in the middle. Goes back to his centre half. We will think about changes in a minute. Perhaps bringing on some of the younger faces as Nalic cuts inside. Turns onto his right foot. It's a good effort. Jolson beat him, but it hits the post. We can play out from the back again. There's no pressure on it. Granaf goes out to Hendrickson and Vidal. But it peters out. It's a really comfortable display. That's the first real threat they've caused. We're just over 25 to go. We'll go and make some changes. We'll bring on Espen Garnas for Vidal, who 1 yellow from a booking. Going to be playing for Sweden soon. Let's give him a little breather. Kaid will come on the left wing for Tahar Ali. And we'll bring on Volokia, who's not had as much football as he deserves. He'll replace Hendrickson in the middle. Well, it's really quiet in the game down. We've had 1 or 2 more shots and we've now picked up a very late injury. I will just drop Almajed into the centre half position just for the last couple of minutes. It shouldn't make any difference as we head into stoppage time, but 3-0, the game's petered out. Let's just hope that Weiberg injury isn't going to affect next season and go and look at the season review and more surprisingly, how the other Swedish sides are doing in Europe, because it doesn't make sense when you watch performances like that. As praise the lads, well done to them. We'll be back in a moment. But Charlie Weiberg's injury, just a few weeks, so shouldn't affect the rest of the pre-season or anything for next year. If there were any chance of him going to the World Cup, that will have been gone though. Lingman's the start as Ostersund's relegated, and Helsingborg get 3 million for finishing in top spot. That should, it has, put us in the black financially for the first time. Excellent news, we're looking good on that front. So Helsingborg recovering financially. Let's go and have a look though at the other sides in Europe, because this causes so much confusion to me. Let's go to the league table. We'll start with Nürköping, last season's champions, who somehow only managed 40 odd points this year. If we have a look at the schedule, they've got to the Europa League group stages and they have lost their games. We have to reflect on that. But having got to Europe's second competition, they've only lost 2-0 to Celtic and Napoli. Now, the Scottish League very quickly rises when loaded in this game, and Napoli are a massive club in Italy. So, take away the slight disappointment against Astana and the fact they're in one of the worst runs you'll ever see. It's a really competent effort considering how poorly they're doing at everything else. I'm not sure that manager's going to last very long though. If we move on to the other two though, we'll leave Malmo, who we just played till last. AIK barely surviving relegation in the end, they were that poor. In the Europa Conference though, a creditable draw against Midtjylland, a creditable draw against AEK, and only just lost to Utrecht, the Dutch side. They've put in really good efforts in Europe, but again, like Nürköping, have a look at how much it's affected their league form. Neither side has won since September when the group stages started, and That is a huge problem for Swedish football. If they're getting that £3 million in, but then they're not bolstering the squad enough to be able to cope, what's the point? Because you just go back to square one, because you can't then get into Europe the next year. The money goes, then you can't afford the transfers. So it's a flawed policy in my opinion. But the biggest shock of the lot is Malmo, because again, a similar pattern with the league form. They've won not many games in the second half of the year. They lost all 3 games this month. But look at their Europa Conference form. A narrow defeat away at Molde, but a 2-0 win at home to Larn. You'd probably expect that. But then a 3-1 win at home to Legia Warsaw, which is a really strong result. How on earth are that side going to probably get through in the Europa Conference, yet end up in the bottom half of the Swedish Premier Division? How is it affecting every team's league form so much? That's got to be either poor squad management or not strong enough recruitment. And I don't know which it is, because these clubs are all getting 2.5 million for getting to the group stages. They're all getting money every time they get a result. And they've all got some of the strongest squads in the league. They were the top 3 last year. So how on earth is that happening? I mean, the first 2 months of the season were before we even had European football. So I don't get where it's going wrong. But that's the bit that's encouraging me to continue perhaps to build a nation, because they're doing well in Europe. They are competing. But they seem to be signing older players. They seem to be signing a smaller squad. And it is having a negative impact on the league form. There's no doubt about that when you look at the results. For those 3 sides not to win a league game in about 20 between them is ridiculous, quite frankly. But let's get the focus back to us to finish off. Something a little bit more positive. Let me know if you have any ideas or solutions for what's going on down there in the comments. But we're going to be back for our season review in the morning, because we've got to reflect on a brilliant double and a season that I probably couldn't have dreamt of. Well, there's only one trophy listed here for the end of season review, and I'm not sure if it's an FM glitch based on the way the seasons work. I've mentioned it before, because the cup is sort of a summer to summer and the league is winter to winter. So the cup finished in May, the league doesn't finish till October, November time. So we did win both, but that's the only one showing. Let's have a look at the new arrivals and the ones we were responsible for, and the ones that we've got to thank our director of football. And quite frankly, the only one that we were entirely responsible for is one we've got to scroll down for, which is Daniel Rios. Second worst player. There's no doubt it was a disappointing year, but he scored the 2 biggest goals. He scored the winning penalty in the cup final. He scored a crucial penalty in the game that we did end up losing in the Europa Conference qualifying. And he scored the 2 goals to win against Hammarby and against Halmstad as we won the league. So I'm not sure that we can be too negative about him. However, all of the director of football signings virtually, bar Lopez in the summer window, have eclipsed him. Granath, superb. Civis, solid backup. Garnas, solid backup. Hadjin and Terzic, 2 brilliant left backs. Netabay was solid, just couldn't stay fit. Valencia, a rock, a real good squad option. And Volokia, much the same off the bench. In terms of the players out, the ones that went, they didn't weaken the squad. And for some of them, we got good fees like Rasmus Johnson and Ravi Zuka. They're 2 of the more experienced ones as well, so I'm not too surprised by that. And we've got some stars out on loan that have done really well. Benjamin Aqua, our Hearts of Oak, still improving, looks a real good first team squad player. Anton Nilsson, the youngster, improving with first team football. Davidson, who was our first choice left back last year, had a solid year out at the second tier. Ali Suljic the same, but the main man, if we go down, is Victor Blixt, who went to Mjällby on loan. He had a good season and he's ready to be our backup right winger next year. So when Lundberg inevitably goes in the winter, Blix will become the number 2 choice. A couple of the more senior ones did disappoint as well, notably the strikers. Karjalainen barely kicked a ball for Degerfors. Outham Lawi had a poor season at Jönköpings. I'm not sure what went wrong with those. Samuel Froj, not the best spell out on loan, so some worked, some didn't, but a decent season overall, and a couple that have really developed from going out on loan. If we look at our season results, the board expected mid-table, the media expected 8th, I think, once we kicked off. We finished first, we won it easily, and it's disappointing from an AI point of view, but our director of football focused on giving us a strong squad rather than a strong 11, and with the schedule this year for the Winter World Cup, that perhaps worked out really well and proved to be an inspired decision. Europa Conference was the opposite feeling. It was probably the most dramatic moment of FM we've ever had. In the 121st minute, we conceded the goal that took the Konyaspor tie to penalties, and, well, we all know what happened from there. And in the Swedish Cup, a fabulous effort. We won the final on penalties after a brilliant performance, but not being able to put the ball away. And now the new campaign's already started, and we've won that one by 4-0. So really good effort there. Let's get through to the moments to remember. Biggest win, 5-1 at AIK. We saw that on camera. AIK, awful team selection when absolutely knackered. Match to remember, brilliant result. A 4-2 win away at Apoel. We mentioned and we looked, they were stronger on paper than us, but we were able to deliver the result. And the goal of the season also came in that biggest win, as Terzic scored his first for the club, and it was a lovely goal as well, wasn't it? The reputation has gone up to 3-star from 2.5. Add that to the fixed finances, and it probably could be a big summer in the transfer window, or a big winter, still making that mistake for Helsingborg. But are we going to be here to see it? I guess the answer to that will depend on whether Luton offer us a job, and what your comments are from the last 2 episodes, but we'll get to that all in a moment. No surprises on the Stars, although Rios has sold us a fair few shirts, so maybe that's a little justification I can give. Lindegaard in as the goalkeeper for the year. Hang on a minute. Our best 11? What's gone wrong there? Because it's got a player who's out on loan who didn't play a game for us. Langren, who's been out injured and been awful, and Almaged in the holding role. Lindegaard in goal. That's the first time I've ever seen that not make sense. It's not got our best players in there. That's really weird. Is it because the Swedish Cup from last year is in there and they're including those games too? I'm not sure, because none of that really makes sense. Let's get through the accolades. We win 4 Manager of the Month awards. Van den Herk breaks the goal scoring record. Ali the assist record. Jolson the clean sheet record. Worst discipline is Kasper Vidal. We've got a new youngest and oldest player too. Record transfer of 200,000. Not a lot in the grand scheme of things for this league. And of course Kasper Vidal taking most of the big awards because he is the young star that this club has produced. A brilliant season, 2 trophies in the bag. And what a way for Helsingborg to finish the year. Even if you look at the club vision now for next year, not expected to achieve much other than finishing in the top half. Want to get to the 3rd qualifying round of the Champions League, which would mean Europa Conference group stage football. But let me know in the comments what we should do. Do we stay? Do we take the Luton job if we get the chance to be offered it? We've got our answer. We are not even going to get interviewed. This is despite winning the Swedish league. And hang on a minute. The reason we've got reservations is because of your reluctance towards making set pieces an important part of your approach. Is that an actual joke? Let's have a look at the club vision here. Make the most of set pieces, reserving judgment. So is that just because it's ticked over and that's why it's happened now? We've scored virtually 1/3 of our goals from set pieces. Kasper Vidal was one of our top scorers the first year from centre half with back post headers. I'm absolutely astonished by that, but that's one option out the board. Do we continue this as a Build a Nation? Do we start another save and continue this one on Twitch? Or do we judge it after the transfer window by seeing who comes in, which we're going to come back for anyway, and judge whether we think Swedish football and our rivals can compete at the top of the league? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, as well as that very bizarre statement from Luton. If you did enjoy the episode, a brilliant performance to finish off the year, then please do put a thumbs up on the video and subscribe down below. There's daily FM22 content as the Hemel save returns tomorrow. We had a big feature-length triple header yesterday, and you can find that up in the eye above. There's also a link to one of our top 3 playlists. There's also the Twitch channel, football podcast, and merchandise store too. But above my head now is yesterday's Hemel episode. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you again here in a couple of days' time to make our decision on the future of this save.